They say you always remember your wedding day. The smell of the flowers, the taste of the cake, the way your bride's hand fits in yours. I remember mine too. Every moment, every red flag I smiled past. 40 grand down the drain. A waterfront venue outside Fort Worth. 200 guests. My buddies in black ties instead of Carhartt. And Valerie Harper walking down the aisle like a damn magazine cover. My mom cried. Her dad gave some weird handshake that felt more like a warning than a welcome. But none of it mattered that day. I was all in. I met Valerie 3 years earlier at a dentist's office where I was remodeling their front lobby. She was working the front desk back then. Chirpy, charming, the kind of girl who laughs too loud at your jokes but makes you feel like a king. Took me 6 weeks to ask her out, and another 6 to fall harder than I ever had. She didn't come from money, didn't act like she wanted mine. And that meant something to a guy like me. But from the beginning, there was Colin. He was the ex who was never really excited. You know, the type lingering like smoke after a fire. First, it was harmless. He liked her pictures, sent a few DMs. Inside jokes I couldn't understand. I asked her once about a meme he commented on, something about our Thai place, and she waved it off, said he was just a sad guy from her past who couldn't move on. I nodded. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe I was enough. There was one night, 6 months before the wedding, when I came home from a job in Austin. She was on the phone in the kitchen, didn't hear me come in. I heard her laugh, that fake laugh, the one she used with customers. And then I heard the name, Colin. I stood in the hallway for a minute too long. She said something about that song, and how stupid it was we still remembered it. Then she hung up, turned, and nearly jumped out of her skin when she saw me. I asked who it was. She said it was her cousin. She didn't have a cousin named Colin. But love is a funny thing. It makes you mute when you should speak, blind when you should see. I swallowed my doubt, kissed her forehead, and went to take a shower. Told myself that if she was really doing anything shady, I'd know. The night before the wedding, my best man, Mike, sat with me on the deck outside the hotel bar. He lit a cigar, offered me one, and said, "You sure about this?" Something about her feels slippery. I laughed, told him love isn't perfect, that everyone's got baggage. What I should have said was, "Yeah, I'm sure that I'm ignoring the obvious because I'm tired of starting over." I married her anyway, put a ring on a question mark, and hoped it would become a period. She looked beautiful in that dress. And when she said her vows, I believed every damn word. She promised loyalty, honesty, a future filled with trust. I meant mine. God help me, I meant every word. But some women are mirrors. They reflect what you want to see until you look too close. That night we danced under strings of lights, ate steak and red velvet cake, and toasted to forever. I carried her across the hotel threshold like some old movie cliché, and she cried in my arms, saying she'd never felt safer. And for a minute, I believed her. But even as we lay there, wrapped in white sheets and good intentions, I couldn't stop thinking about Colin, about the way her phone buzzed earlier that night and how she turned it over without looking, about the half-second delay when I asked who texted her. It's funny what you remember, not the kiss, not the champagne, but the hesitation in her eyes. Red flags? Hell, they were fireworks. I just chose to watch the sky instead of the ground beneath me. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for everything to start cracking. I just wrapped a job in McKinney, new foundation pour, 12-man crew, high heat and a busted mixer. Pulled into the driveway dirty, sore, and ready to crash. I remember thinking maybe Valerie would have dinner ready, or maybe we'd just microwave leftovers and watch something stupid on TV. That was how it had been since we got back from the honeymoon. Quiet. Too quiet. When I walked in, I knew something was off. The air felt like it was holding its breath. She was sitting on the couch, eyes red, tissues balled up in both fists. No makeup, no pretense. "Gabe," she said, voice tight, like she'd been waiting for this scene to start. "We need to talk. Now, men like me, we know when the floor's about to drop. Maybe it's the smell of wet concrete, maybe it's just the gut. But something inside me said, brace yourself." She started slowly. said Colin. Yeah, that Colin was dying. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Terminal. No hope. She just found out. Claimed she didn't want to say anything before because she wasn't sure how I'd react. My first reaction? I laughed. Out loud. She flinched. Come on, I said. You expect me to believe that now? She didn't get angry, didn't plead. She went into this soft, trembling monologue about how she owed him compassion and couldn't let someone she once loved die alone. Then she said the words that made my blood pressure spike. I'm moving in with him, just for a while, to help. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything. I just stood there, and inside something changed. Like a switch got thrown and the light went out on who I used to be. You leave this house, I said. You don't come back. She blinked, confused, like she hadn't thought it through that far. It's not what you think, she said. No, I stepped closer. You're telling me you're going to play nurse to the guy who kept popping into your phone while we were dating, and I'm supposed to believe it's just charity work? She started crying harder, which used to work. Not anymore. I can't just ignore this, she sniffled. It's not about love. It's about doing the right thing. That line, doing the right thing, like she was some kind of saint dragging a halo into another man's apartment. I opened the coat closet, pulled out her weekender bag, dropped it at her feet. You're a grown woman, Valerie. You make your choices. But don't think for a second you'll keep one foot in my house while playing house with your ex. She looked at me like I just shot her dog. You're really doing this? No, I said. You are. She didn't speak again. Just packed some clothes, her laptop, and a few toiletries. No ring. No apology. No attempt to stop me when I opened the door and waited. I didn't slam it after her. I just locked it, and that lock sounded louder than any slam ever could. I spent the rest of the night outside on the back deck, beer in hand, Diesel, my pit lab mutt, curled at my feet. I watched the Texas stars and tried to figure out where I went wrong. And I realized something. I didn't. See, you can't fix someone who sees weakness in your kindness. And you sure as hell don't chase after someone who leaves your marriage like it's a shift change. 3 weeks. That's all it took for the woman who swore loyalty before God and family to decide her past mattered more than her present. But that night I got real clear on one thing. I wasn't the one walking away. She was. And when she came crawling back, and I knew she would, I'd make damn sure the door she walked out of stayed locked behind her. 5 months. That's how long it had been since she walked out with her little suitcase and a speech about dignity and compassion. 5 months of silence, no texts, no calls. Not a whisper, not a knock. Just a ghost with perfect teeth and fake tears. In those 5 months, I tore out the kitchen backsplash, put in new granite, replaced the windows in the living room, and changed every single damn lock. She never asked for her key back. Didn't matter. She wasn't getting in. I filed for divorce 6 weeks after she left. My lawyer, Tom Bricker, an old buddy from high school who now charges $400 an hour to tear people apart on paper, filed it clean and simple. Abandonment. No shared assets. No kids. No debate. I didn't rush the paperwork. I wanted her to feel the silence. Let her sit in the bed she made, spooning lies with a man who faked his own death sentence. Then one Thursday evening, after a full day on the job site pouring driveway slabs in Garland, I pulled into my driveway, kicked my boots off by the garage, and cracked open a Shiner Bock. Diesel barked once, just once. The kind of bark he saved for things that didn't belong. Then I saw her, standing at the porch like a stray, hair longer, belly swollen, pregnant, and acting like she still had a key to my life. She smiled, like we were picking up groceries instead of the shattered pieces of her choices. Gabe, she said, I need to talk. I didn't move, didn't say a word, just opened the front door, stepped inside, and clicked the chain lock. She followed. I stood in the hallway behind the door. What are you doing? She asked, her voice a little more brittle. I reached for the manila envelope off the side table. Divorce papers, all signed, waiting for her signature. Slide them through the crack in the door like a bill nobody wants to pay. What's this? She asked, her voice cracking. Closure. I said. She knocked harder. You're not even going to ask whose it is? Nope. It's yours. No, it's not. You don't know that. And I don't care. Then came the tears. The loud ones. The performance kind. You're just going to slam the door in my face? No. I'm going to chain it first. Then slam it. She pounded on the wood, full meltdown mode. Diesel growled once behind me. I cracked my beer, leaned against the wall, and watched the shadow of a woman who thought she could burn the bridge and still cross it later. I made a mistake, she cried. Yep. We were married. Briefly. You're being cruel. No, I said, flat as concrete. Cruel was lying to my face and packing a bag for another man. This is me making sure you never do it again. I stood there as her sobs turned to screams, then silence. Eventually, her shadow disappeared off the porch. She left the papers. I'd get her signature one way or another. My lawyer would make sure of it. I finished my beer, stepped out to the porch, picked up the envelope, and looked out over the street. Pregnant or not, she wasn't mine anymore. She made her bed. Now she could labor in it. It was a quiet Saturday when the message came in, Facebook of all places. I was under the hood of my '79 Chevy, fixing a coolant leak, country rock humming on the garage speaker, diesel sprawled in the shade. My phone buzzed on the workbench. Normally I'd ignore it, but something told me to check. The name? Emily Reyes. Didn't recognize it. But the profile picture was familiar. A woman with the same sharp chin and dark hair as someone I knew too well. The message was short. You don't know me, but I'm Colin's sister. I think you deserve the truth. I wiped my hands on a shop rag, heart not racing, just tightening. The way it does when a puzzle finally clicks into place and the image makes your stomach turn. She followed up with screenshots, messages between her and Valerie, dates, details. Voice memos too if I wanted proof. But the bomb was in the next line. Colin never had cancer. He told Valerie that to win her back. He's done it before to 2 other women. It's his move. He's sick, but not that kind of sick. I stared at the screen for a long minute. Then I laughed. A long, bitter, gravel-throated laugh that spooked Diesel off the floor. So that was it. The Noble Hospice Act was just a con. Colin played her like a fiddle, and Valerie, smart, smug, too clever for her own good Valerie, danced right into it. Left a solid man with calloused hands and a paid-off house for a walking lie in sweatpants. Emily and I ended up on the phone that night. She apologized more than she needed to. Said Colin had been running this scam since he was 19. Claimed PTSD. Said he was broken by the military. She wasn't buying it anymore. I tried warning her, Emily said. Valerie didn't want to hear it. Thought she could fix him. She couldn't fix a flat tire. Emily chuckled, then added, he ghosted her last week. She's been calling my mom's house. She's broke, unemployed, and very, very pregnant. I didn't say a word for a beat. You gonna call her? Emily asked. No, I said. I don't need to. Truth has a funny way of knocking louder than I ever could. She told me if I ever needed anything, to talk, to testify, to verify dates. I had her number. Said I deserved better. That Valerie was just as responsible. I agreed. They were 2 snakes in the same tall grass. Only difference was one bit first. That night, I sat on my deck again, sipping from a bottle of Knob Creek, watching the stars blink like they were in on the joke. The same woman who once called me her rock traded stability for a sandcastle. And the tide came in fast. She hadn't called. Not since the chain lock and the porch scene. No apology, no truth, no admittance. Just silence. And now I knew why. She wasn't staying away out of respect. She was hiding out of shame. But I wasn't going to let her rewrite the narrative. I didn't need revenge. I had the facts. And in my world, facts are the most brutal justice there is. A few days later, I took the screenshots Emily sent and filed them in a folder labeled insurance. Not legal insurance. Reputation insurance. Because I knew it was only a matter of time before she tried to spin it. When she did, I'd be ready. and I'd let the truth speak louder than I ever would. It started with a post. A selfie of Valerie, looking tired but tragic, messy bun, no makeup, a hospital bracelet barely visible on her wrist. Caption: some people walk away when you need them most, but I'm stronger now. Baby G and I will be just fine. Hashtag single mom, hashtag left behind, hashtag truth hurts. I almost choked on my coffee. She was setting the stage, painting herself as the abandoned angel, betrayed by the heartless husband who couldn't handle real love. No mention of Colin. No mention of fake cancer. Just a curated sob story with filters and hashtags. Within an hour, her brunch gang was in full swing. You're so brave, girl. Men are trash. He never deserved you anyway. And then, someone tagged me. That's all it took. I didn't reply, didn't post. I just forwarded the whole thing to my sister Sophia with 2 words. Let's go. Sophia doesn't play. She's a Southern woman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper sense of justice. Within the hour, she had our cousin Megan digging through group chats, screenshots, and DMs from the wedding planning days. Valerie's double talk, her vague mentions of Colin, her shady Google history. Can a spouse be held liable for child support if not the father? And I had the receipts from Emily. Solid ones. Voice memos of Valerie talking to Colin in my house. Texts with timestamps. Screenshots of her planning to move in with him weeks before the wedding. So we dropped them. Not in a tantrum. Not with insults. We posted the truth. Piece by piece. Calm. Surgical. A quiet execution on the same battlefield she chose, public opinion. Sophia made the first post. Before you believe everything you read online, maybe ask why she left her husband 3 weeks after the wedding to live with her ex, who wasn't dying, just lying. Attached was a clip of the voice memo. Valerie's voice, laughing. He doesn't know I'm still talking to Colin. He's so serious about this marriage thing. It's kind of sweet. Sad, but sweet. Then came the text chain. Her and Colin, planning their little compassion retreat while I was ordering engraved cufflinks for our groomsmen. Her supporters started backing off real quick. A few tried to fight back. One girl accused me of weaponizing privacy. That's when Megan posted the divorce documents, filed weeks before Valerie's social media debut, and included a receipt from the night Valerie came to the house and got turned away at the door. Hard to abandon someone who has already left, she wrote. Then the wave broke. One of Valerie's former co-workers chimed in. She lied about being engaged to 2 different guys before Gabe. I believed her. Never again. And the final blow came from Emily. She shared a public post with photos of Colin at a poker game 2 nights after his alleged cancer diagnosis. Beers, laughter, no chemo, no for. The likes on Valerie's post disappeared. Comments turned quiet. A few deleted their messages altogether. The sympathy party was over. And my business? It boomed. Calls started coming in. Guys who respected that I kept my mouth shut until it mattered. Clients who appreciated a man who didn't play the victim, didn't explode, just handled his business. One guy said, I saw your sister's post. You're a better man than I would have been. Maybe, or maybe I just understood that rage is a tool. You can use it like a hammer or a scalpel. Valerie tried to set the internet on fire, but I showed up with a hose full of receipts. And the truth? That stuff burns cleaner than any lie ever could. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my phone lit up with a call from an out-of-state number. I almost let it ring out, but something in me said the answer. Is this Gabe Mitchell? The woman asked, voice sharp and steady. Depends who's asking. This is Brittany. I'm Colin's wife. Well, soon to be ex. I sat down hard on the tailgate of my truck. You're kidding. I wish, she said. We've been married 6 years, 2 kids, and I just found out everything. About Valerie, about his lies, about fake cancer, all of it. The silence between us stretched like barbed wire. I didn't know if I wanted to laugh or throw something through a window. Hell of a thing to find out your wife left you for a guy who already had one, I said. He's a walking disaster, she replied. You're not the first. And Valerie won't be the last. But I figured you'd want to know. I'm pressing charges. My jaw tightened. What kind? Fraud, impersonation, emotional abuse, unpaid child support. He used the same cancer story on a woman in North Carolina. She sent me the screenshots. I've got more than enough to bury him. And, she paused. I've got something you'll want to hear. She emailed me a folder. Inside were recordings, actual calls between Valerie and Colin, some from before the wedding. One stood out. Valerie's voice, soft and guilty. I don't want to hurt him, but I can't stop thinking about you. Gabe's good to me. Too good. That's the problem. Colin chuckled on the other end. You know where your heart is. She sighed. Maybe I never left you. The date on the call? 2 weeks before the wedding, while we were still picking centerpieces and paying deposits. I sat there, staring at the file, the bitterness in my throat rising like bile. This wasn't just betrayal, it was premeditated, calculated. She didn't fall into Colin's arms after the vows. She never left him. Brittany sent more. Photos of Colin on dating apps. A PDF from the state of Texas showing back child support of nearly $37,000. Legal letters he ignored. Restraining orders from 2 previous girlfriends. The man was a professional parasite. You need anything from me? Brittany said. Witness statements, audio, anything? It's yours. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in the cab of my truck with my head against the steering wheel. Valerie wasn't just naive. She was complicit. She chose this. Choose him. Lied to herself. Lied to me. Lied to everyone. And now, she was stuck holding the pieces of a future she lit on fire with both hands. Later that night, I dropped a copy of the recordings into the same insurance folder I'd started months back. Labeled the file before the wedding proof. I didn't post them. Didn't send them to her. I didn't have to. Let the truth sit there like a loaded gun. No need to fire unless she stepped out of line again. And as far as I was concerned, she'd already shot herself in both feet. The next few weeks turned into a circus. But I didn't perform. Valerie started showing up again. This time louder, messier, and more desperate. It started with drive-bys. She'd roll by the job sites where my crew was pouring slabs or framing houses, just slow enough to be noticed but too quick for confrontation. Then she got bolder. First time she came to my office, she looked like a shadow of the woman I married. Frazzled hair, dark circles under her eyes, belly even bigger now. She stood in the doorway like a storm cloud and started in on her monologue before I could say a word. You really won't talk to me? Not even now. I looked up from my invoices. Calm, steady. You need to leave. Gabe, this is insane. You're acting like I'm the enemy. No, I said, standing. I treat enemies with more respect. She blinked, lips trembling, tried to step in. I stepped forward. You lost the right to explanations the day you packed your bag. Don't try to crawl through the door you burned down. She stormed out, muttering something about lawyers and support and the child you're walking away from. I didn't flinch. I'd already filed the paternity waiver weeks ago. Texas law's not perfect, but with the proof I had and the timeline lining up like a demolition charge, my bases were covered. A week later, she showed up on a site in Frisco. Crew was working on concrete and she came screaming across the gravel like it was a soap opera. My guys froze. One of them, Carlos, actually laughed. You think you're better than everyone, Gabe? Like you didn't do anything wrong. I walked over, calm as a sniper. You've got 10 seconds to get off this site before I call the sheriff. Her voice cracked. This isn't over. Yeah, I said. It is. It's over. And then, as if the devil had a sense of humor, Colin called. Unknown number. Straight to voicemail. But the message he left? Hey man, look. I know things got out of hand. Valerie and I, well, you know how women are. She's crazy, bro. If you've got work, I could really use it. Concrete, framing, demo, I do it all. Clean slate. I replayed the message twice just to be sure I heard what I heard. He wanted a job. The same guy who faked cancer, blew up my marriage, and ruined 2 women's lives, was asking me for work. I forwarded the voicemail to Brittany. She sent back a string of laughing emojis and a photo of a champagne bottle. Texas state troopers picked him up last night. Bench warrant for unpaid support. Karma's got steel-toe boots. Couldn't have said it better myself. The final act came 2 weeks later. Certified letter. Valerie's attempt to sue for child support, claiming emotional damages, stress, and that the baby was clearly named after his father. Yeah. She named him Gabriel Jr. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I took the letter, scanned it, and handed it to Tom Bricker with a quiet, "Do your thing." 3 weeks later, the court tossed it. Paternity test came back negative, of course. Her claim of emotional distress got laughed out of the room. Judge even commented, "Naming a child after someone doesn't imply paternity or responsibility." When I got the news, I sat in my truck for a long while. Not with anger, not with pride, just with peace. She'd lost. Not because I fought harder, but because I stopped fighting for someone who never fought for me. They booked him on a Tuesday. Colin, arrested in Denton County on outstanding warrants, child support, fraud, and obstruction. The man who once faked terminal illness to steal my wife was now in County Orange, smiling like a mugshot model. Brittany texted me the photo with 3 words, "Champagne's cold." I saved the image not out of spite, but because sometimes karma deserves a frame. Valerie didn't post about it. No brave hashtags. No crying selfies. She just disappeared from the internet like she never existed. Word got around, though. Dallas ain't that big when you're the kind of woman who tried to play the victim after burning her own life down. People talk, especially when they saw what she tried to pull and how clean I walked away. She'd moved back in with her parents. No job, no car, baby in tow. Her dad, who once gave me a limp handshake and said, "Don't screw this up, son," now couldn't look me in the eye when we passed each other at the lumber yard. I didn't gloat. I poured concrete. Work kept coming. Word spread that Gabe Mitchell handled business like a man. Didn't scream. Didn't chase. Just finished what he started. I bought a new truck. A gray F-250 with black rims and leather seats. Paid in full. Got a dog crate installed in the back for diesel. Upgraded the shop. Brought on 2 more crews. Booked through the next year. And then one day at Home Depot I met Maria. She wasn't flashy. No lip gloss and fake lashes. Just jeans, work boots, and a stain-splatter tee. She was loading pavers into the back of her Tacoma like it was nothing. I offered to help. She said no thanks twice. I respected that. But the 3rd time we crossed paths, she looked up from a drill display and said, "You look like a man who prefers action over talk." I smiled. We grabbed coffee, then lunch, then Sundays. She had her own crew, kitchen remodels, tile work, and interior finishes. Self-sufficient. No drama. No lies. Just grit and calm. The kind of woman who brought her own tools and paid her own way. Diesel loved her. That was enough for me. One night, we sat on the tailgate, her feet swinging, mine planted. "Have you ever been married?" she asked. "Briefly," I said. "What happened?" I took a breath. She left. I locked the door. Then she tried to come back pregnant. Said it was mine. It wasn't. Her ex conned her. Now he's in jail. She's got nothing. I've got peace. Maria nodded, no judgment in her eyes. Just quiet understanding. "Do you learn anything from it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "If someone shows you who they are, don't argue." She sipped her coffee. Solid lesson. We didn't say much else that night. Just watched the sun set over my property. The one I built with my hands, paid for with my sweat, and defended with my silence. In the distance, a neighbor's dog barked. Diesel barked back. Maria leaned on my shoulder. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for something bad to happen. I felt home. I rang in the new year with a cigar between my fingers and a bourbon in my hand, standing on a rooftop patio at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas. The skyline burned gold. The strip pulsed below like a beating heart. And my crew, Mike, Carlos, Sophia, Maria, all raised their glasses to a year that didn't break me. "Here's to concrete cures," Mike said. And so does karma. We laughed. But it wasn't just a celebration. It was closed. There were no lingering what-ifs. No secret regrets. Just the clean edge of a door that shut for good. Valerie never got her big redemption arc. There were no court-ordered apologies. No heartfelt messages begging for forgiveness. She faded, slowly, like a scratch in the paint you forget about. I heard she took a cashier job at a grocery store near Allen. Her parents babysit when they can. Colin's still locked up, last I checked, and nobody's writing letters. As for the kid, Gabriel Jr., he'll grow up with a name that isn't mine. And that's fine. I don't hate the boy. He's just a product of bad choices. But he ain't my blood, and he won't carry my legacy. Some folks told me I should forgive, be the bigger man. But I already was the bigger man. I didn't destroy her. I didn't expose her beyond the lies she posted herself. I didn't take her to court for defamation or go on a podcast to cry foul. I just walked away and stayed gone. That's the part they never tell you. Walking away isn't a weakness. Sometimes it's the most dangerous thing a man can do. Because when you stop fighting for someone who never deserved your strength, you start reclaiming it for yourself. In the year that followed, I finished building my new house, stone and steel, with a long wraparound porch and reinforced beams. No hollow walls, nothing fake, just like the life I've built. Maria's not my rebound. She's my mirror. She doesn't try to fix me. She just walks beside me. Head high, boots dusty, hands calloused like mine. We don't talk about the past much. Not because we're hiding it, but because we buried it. Deep, poured a slab over it. Let it harden. Every now and then, I'll get a message from someone who heard the story. A cousin, an old client, a guy at a barbecue. Is it true? They ask. I just smile, sip my drink. Every word, I say, and I wouldn't change a thing. Because here's what I know now. Love without loyalty is just a good performance. Trust your gut. It's smarter than your heart. And never, never negotiate with betrayal. I didn't win by getting her back. I won by never letting her come back. The last text she ever sent me? Just 5 words. Do you ever miss me? I didn't reply. That was the last word. Mine.